from the House of Parliament right here in Fisheries, and we are coming to you live via the National Television Network and the Government of St. Lucia YouTube channel and Facebook page. I must say it was a very enlightening first round so far, and as we speak, the Speaker of the House, Honorable Claudius Francis, is now making his way to his chair for the resumption of the debate. Over to the House.
When we broke the debate on the estimate of revenue and expenditure was ongoing. A member from Mico North
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I start my presentation in the House today, permit me leave to extend condolences to some families. We have several families within my constituency who have lost loved ones over the past week. The Wilson family in Pierre on the passing of Miss Anne Marie Wilson, the Maffrey family, and I know all members inside here know the Maffrey family, of Monipo, on the passing of Miss Amel Maffrey, better known as Murdadu, a stalwart of the St. Lucia Labour Party and a community icon. The Martelly family, on the passing of George Martelly, the Antoine family of Prale, Joseph and George family, on the passing of a young man, Jeremy Orville George of Pasias, the Serie family of Vietnam, on the passing of Mr. Afa, the Stanislas family of Prale and Lapwet, and the passing of Miss Colani. In Mico, we also have the family of Frances Delis, the family of Tristan Glasgow, the young man who met his demise in that horrific accident at Escap not too long ago, the family of Hilary St. Catherine, and the family of Audrey Shari. Mr. Speaker, I would like to start off by expressing my deepest gratitude. And while personal reflections are not customary in the budget, I believe that it's important to acknowledge the source of my strength. For many of us, faith plays a very integral role, a pivotal role in our lives. And this faith inspires me and reminds me of the words of Jeremiah 29:11. And I know that many people know these words. And it goes like that, Mr. Speaker. For I know the plans I have for you. And this is a declaration from the Lord. And He has plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. And this unwavering belief, Mr. Speaker, is what sustains me as I navigate the challenges and the responsibilities that come with this role. And there are indeed quite a few challenges and responsibilities that come with being a parliamentary rep or having been bestowed ministerial portfolio. And every day, even in my constituency, Mr. Speaker, I have to deal with these challenges. Persons for no reasons decide to just get a persons who believe that the gates are open and now throwing their hats in the ring. And I say, welcome, Mr. Speaker, welcome. The journey is young. I want to express my sincere gratitude to the Honorable Prime Minister and my esteemed cabinet colleagues, Mr. Speaker, because their unwavering support over nearly 3 years, this has been invaluable. And I'm happy to be part of a team, happy to be part of this team of men and women from the St. Lucia Labour Party and our wider network, the Blue Wave, and our member from Castries Central. I'm happy to be part of a team of men and women, Mr. Speaker, who sincerely and genuinely care about the people of St. Lucia. And this team with the Prime Minister at its helm is driven by a genuine desire There is no fronting, Mr. Speaker, or we have to put on no show. A genuine desire to serve the people of St. Lucia. Our leader, our Prime Minister, Philip Joseph Pierre. This man embodies empathy and integrity. He's a leader who doesn't just make decisions from an ivory tower, Mr. Speaker. But what he does rather is he walks in the shoes of ordinary citizens. He loses sleep over their concerns. And the 15 of us here who are fortunate to be part of his cabinet can tell you that he extends his cabinet hours for thorough discussions, especially on issues affecting the marginalized and the vulnerable. The Prime Minister's commitment to honesty, Mr. Speaker, and integrity is indeed refreshing. And if I were to take from his words, he rather stammer the truth than to lie eloquently.
Yes.
We are also fortunate to have a leader who believes in the power of youth, a belief manifested in his brainchild, the youth economy. Prime Minister, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to serve as a minister in the office of the Prime Minister with a focus on crime prevention and people with disabilities. I assure you, and I assure the people of Micoud North, and St. Lucia by extension, that I take this responsibility very serious and I will do my best to deliver on the mandate that has been handed to me. My journey here, Mr. Speaker, has been enriched by many. And whilst I am still in the mood of gratitude, I want to say that I am grateful to the dedicated staff of the Parliament for their support and for their guidance during my time as Deputy Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to you I say a special thank you. You've been an unwavering pillar of support. You've been a big brother and a wellspring of wisdom. And your guidance has been invaluable. And I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, that you can never, ever be replaced. Finally, to the men, the women, and the children of Micoud North, I say thank you for entrusting me with the privilege of representing your voices in this esteemed house. I understand your concerns. I understand your concerns firsthand. I've walked in your shoes. I've walked the streets of Pralin. I've walked the streets of Lapwet, Marguerite, Micoud, Lomba, Lahore, name it. Vietnam. I've walked the streets, Mr. Speaker. And I understand the pulse of my constituency. Mr. Speaker, I attend church in Monrepo on Sundays. I drive through my constituency. I drive through the village of Micoud during the weekdays. And trust me, I zest by Rosemary on a Thursday. So this allows me to connect with the issues that matter most to the people of Micoud North, the young, the old, and everyone in between. And it is on this basis, Mr. Speaker, my interactions with my people continue to shape my experiences, continue to provide me with the guidance I need to move forward. And it is from this understanding, it's because of my shared experiences that I'm able to stand to offer my support to the motion by the Honorable Prime Minister and the Minister for Finance to adopt the report of the Standing Finance Committee on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2024-2025 in the sum of $1,894,110,800 as a charge against the Consolidated Fund and other funds of the State of St. Lucia. Mr. Speaker, as you know, this budget prioritizes improving the lives and standard of living of all St. Lucians. Borrowing a phrase from the Prime Minister's address yesterday, this budget has something for everyone. I believe this is Creole, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, qu'on reconnaît, budget salaire l'année salaire, et car ini, as yon se priorité a, éprouvement en la vie toute gens cette lycée. Et c'est pas dit dans la vie à deux cette lycée. Le Premier ministre l'a dit hier, il a été adressé Kaila ici a dit comme ça, that the budget salaire l'année salaire, l'année bagaille by tout le monde. In my presentation today, Mr. Speaker, I will delve deeper into specific aspects of this budget, and I will start by examining the allocations for the ministries that I have the temporary privilege of overseeing. And following that, Mr. Speaker, I'll explore how the budget impacts the people of Micoud North, my cherished constituency. Let's begin by examining the budgetary allocations for the ministries under my temporary leadership. And these allocations, Mr. Speaker, before I delve into them, I can tell you up front that these allocations demonstrate the government's commitment to key areas that directly affect all St. Lucians. Home Affairs, Mr. Speaker. Home Affairs still has at the top of its agenda prioritizing safety and security of all St. Lucians. And if we were to look at page 155 of the estimates, it reveals a total budget of $53,729,500 for the Department of Home Affairs. A mere $4 million less than the previous year. And I say a mere $4 million less, Mr. Speaker, because remember last year that the focus of the budget was on security and health. And this year, despite having a shift in terms of what the primary focus is, this year is the year of infrastructure, we still see a significant allocation for the Department of Home Affairs. And this signifies, Mr. Speaker, the government's unwavering commitment to safeguarding its citizens. The breakdown allocates $46 million for operational expenses and $7 million for capital projects. Notably, almost half of the capital budget is going towards improvements within the St. Lucia Fire Service. So I know that the fire chief and his team will likely be heartened by this year's allocations. And here's a breakdown of the key investments. The fire station repairs. A significant increase is evident, with $619,000 allocated for repairs compared to a mere $60,000 last financial year. And these repairs will focus on stations in Grosley, fire headquarters, in Dennery. I think a chunk of it goes to the Dennery fire station. Mickwood, Mr. Speaker, I say Mickwood again because I know for a long time the firemen in Mickwood have had to endure some conditions, so I'm happy that part of this money is going to go towards repairing the Mickwood fire station. The Crash Fire Hall and View Fort. Also, some of this money is going towards the fleet modernization for the fire service, approximately $2.8 million. And this money will be used to acquire essential equipment, 1 aerodrome unit, 5 domestic fire trucks, 4 quick response vehicles, and 4 ambulances with vital equipment and tools. Soufrière Fire Station expansion. And I see the member for Soufrière, Fosse Jacques, looking at me. And I know that she will be pleased to see a dedicated allocation of nearly almost $200,000 for the long-awaited Soufrière Fire Station expansion. I heard the member from Ancillary Canneries whisper, I'm waiting to her mind. And Mr. Speaker, I am proud to say that Ancillary, the West Coast substation, Ancillary and Canneries residents will benefit from a new substation on the West Coast, as we have a $1.2 million allocation for this project. Mr. Speaker, maybe this is pour tout le monde comprendre. Dans les salles, le département Home Affairs, l'année où $53 million that Premier Ministre a by département pour faire travail. Mais $7 million de ça, il a servi pour faire ça, nous avons créé les capital projects. Et puis, un $7 million ça là, approché half l'argent ça là qu'a aller pour faire travail à département d'IFE. Et puis, moi savent that chef d'IFE, le chef département d'IFE, il a un gros quoi parce que pour chaque temps nous savons c'est même fire service là qui est pour yo dire pas cet accord yo pas qu'à joindre représenter avec moi ça l'année ça là si l'année un département qui a joindre représentation de cas ça là c'est fire service et puis nous ouais l'année passée la tenu $60,000 pour servir pour ranger ces différents fire stations au Lyon 7 ici l'année ça là nous Limosa Gossi approximativement 10 fois et par présent l'année $619,000 pour ranger ces fire stations au Lyon 7 ici et puis l'argent ça qui a servi pour ranger fire station à Gozile, fire headquarters là Castry, fire station à Dennery, ça à Mikou, fire station à Mikou et puis Crash Fire Hall et fire station à Vieux-Fort. Et puis il a aussi servi 2.8 million pour acheter équipement qui est important pour ces membres fire service là, ça fait travail. Et puis dedans équipement ça ça a aerodrome unit, ça c'est unit that you can servir à sous ces airport là. Il y a 5 fire truck, 4 machines et puis 4 ambulances. Et puis il y a aussi servi l'argent pour acheter équipement et puis outils. Et puis mais ça même parlement souffrier on dit hier beaucoup parce qu'il était l'année $200,000. Et puis l'argent ça a servi pour expand fire station souffrier. Et puis même parlement Aslawi Kanawi il s'est dit la Panipes fire station localité Castries et puis pour aller souffrier la Panipes fire station en mi-temps c'est déplacé. Et puis fire service qui a dit plus vite yo ça répond pour un bagage qui fait là c'est about 35 minutes et 40 minutes et puis nous avons regardé pour mettre l'année 1.2 million en dit de budget à l'année ça là pour nous ça faire un fire station neuf à Kanawi Aslawi à dit de Wet Kanawi Aslawi. Additional investments, Mr. Speaker, is $363,364, and these investments will be used for the purchasing of furniture and equipment, installing new hydrants, and acquiring breathing apparatus compressor. Mr. Speaker, I now want to turn my attention or head 46 subheading 0263, corrections and rehabilitations. And this government is investing in the facility. This year's budget recognizes the need to improve conditions within Bodley Correctional Facility. We started the work last year, Mr. Speaker, and we're going to continue this year. And an allocation of $450,000 has been allocated for essential repairs addressing 2 key issues at the correctional facilities. The first issue being the upgrading of the electrical system to address frequent power outages at Bodley, and the repairing to the kitchen equipment and acquiring the remaining. And last year they started acquiring the stainless steel toilets, and there's a few that are missing, and this allocation will be used towards procuring these stainless steel toilets and fixing the kitchen, Mr. Speaker. And these investments, Mr. Speaker, enhance the overall functionality and the safety of the facility. Mr. Speaker, our commitment extends beyond security measures. We believe in fostering rehabilitation and building capacity among inmates. And this is reflected in the $300,000 allocation on line item 0444, commercialization of inmate employment. And this initiative serves 2 purposes. One of them is to reduce public funding. The program aims to decrease reliance on public funds, Mr. Speaker, and to allow the facility to generate revenue through inmate labor. And the other is inmate development, where inmates gain valuable skills and work experience which can contribute to their successful reintegration into society upon their release. And the specific breakdown of this allocation will be further elaborated, Mr. Speaker, in the policy debate. However, I can highlight the areas targeted for the investment. And part of the money is going to be used to refurbish the poultry pen, the pig pen, the abattoir rehabilitation, the rabbitry improvements, acquisition of a tiller, enhanced farm storage facilities, and road rehabilitation. So ça nous a dit là, Mr. Speaker, that c'est nous avons Bodley, nous pas qu'à oublier Bodley, ça nous a fait. Et puis nous avons travaillé, nous avons Bodley $450,000. Et puis l'argent ça là, c'est pour adresser des problèmes naturels là. Un de ces problèmes là, c'est un problème électrique. Et puis il y a toujours ni courant, il y a toujours ni problème et puis courant il y a toujours qu'à courant là parce que le système courant outdated et puis là il y a un problème et puis cuisine bah chaque pressure il y a pour manger pour at least 400 personnes tous les jours et 3 fois par journée nous avons parlé de 1200 pour préparer manger by 400 personnes 3 fois par journée. Et puis cuisine ça va mettre cuisine à bas pressure so adant l'argent ça adant $450,000 ça va aller towards manger cuisine. Et puis nous comprenons nous pas ça juste mettre maçon et puis mettre pas coller en prison mais nous ni an responsabilite ou dat le moun ay bodle dat yo sort do de pli meilleur manière et puis because nous comprenons ça Mr. Speaker, ça nous a fait c'est dat nous a mette l'argent là pour nous manger caille poule, caille cochon, abattoir pour yo ka tuer ces animaux, caille lapin et puis yo ni l'argent pour s'acheter tiller pour yo ça faire travail yo et puis pour manger chimère Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these allocations prioritize both facility improvements and inmate rehabilitation opportunities. And this comprehensive approach aims to create a more secure and productive environment for all involved. As Mr. Speaker, I also have temporary responsibility for the Department of Public Service and Gender Affairs. But in a cursory manner, I will just swipe through the figures, Mr. Speaker, and I know that either myself or the minister, the substantive minister, will expound during the policy debate about the programs and policies of the Public Service Department and the Department of Gender Affairs. But Mr. Speaker, I think notably we recognize an amount of, I think, about $2.5 million for the retrofitting of Orange Grove. Not our doing, Mr. Speaker, but we have to do it regardless. There's also an allocation of $96,800 on the gender, I think on page 94. This is to procure furniture for the office space. Quite a few other initiatives on the Department of Public Service and Gender, Mr. Speaker, but as I said, I will leave this for when we get to the qualitative component of this debate, the policy debate. Mr. Speaker, I now delve into the nitty-gritty of how these budgetary figures impact the people of Mico North. Look at first fisheries development. If we were to turn to head 41, subheading 27, fisheries development, we would find a line item 0378, repairs to fishing facilities. And there I see an allocation of $850,000 which has been approved for the repairs. And while the Mico jetty, Mr. Speaker, isn't specifically listed, I want to express my sincere gratitude to the Prime Minister for fulfilling our promise to the Mico North fisher folk. Mr. Speaker, I can say here today, I can say confidently that repair work is already underway on the Mico jetty and on the Mico timber jetty, Mr. Speaker, not just the Mico jetty, because in previous times when we spoke of Mico jetty, the perception persons had was something that moved with the waves, something that flapped like a butterfly, Mr. Speaker. But this time, yeah, and I remember saying in this house that we had a floating jetty that made so much noise, Mr. Speaker. It's in close proximity of the cemetery, and the dead was unable to rest in peace because of the noise made by this jetty. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that today work is on the way on the Mico jetty, on the solid timber jetty. I think piling is starting this week. Hopefully next week we're going to have the official sword turning ceremony for the jetty, and possibly, Mr. Speaker, by the time of appropriation, the people, the fisher folk of Mico North may be able to utilize a solid timber jetty on behalf of compliments the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. However, Mr. Speaker, as much as I am grateful for the jetty, I must highlight the needs of the prowling fishermen and the prowling fishing facility. On page 210, Mr. Speaker, we don't see an allocation for repairs there. And Mr. Speaker, I urge the Minister for Agriculture, as I've done before, to address the following at the Prowley facility. The Prowley facility requires repairs to the jetty, attention to the locker room and fishing facility. And this will finally allow for the official commissioning of the long-awaited facility. Mr. Speaker, it is disheartening that a multi-million-dollar project, paid for by the hard-earned money of taxpayers in St. Lucia, remains unused for almost a decade. Mr. Speaker, naidi sa Creole, so se pêcheur kay sa kopan. Mr. Speaker, odia na we remercie Premier Ministre, et puis c'est je Taiwan là, la remercier yo because tout le monde savent moi venir ici il est tout seul mais pour que Mr. Speaker pour la petite jetty Mikoua. Et puis tout gens cette ici savent ça jetty ça tchea. Oui. Ça tchea et by Jean-Mikou, et ça il fait by Jean-Mikou. Et puis pour combien d'années Jean-Mikou pas tenir tché, nous ça problème là nous ni et puis ouet là. Et puis c'est péché à présent il faut passer de ouet pour aller de ay préfère notre yo. Et puis ça a mené problème Mr. Speaker parce que chaque péché a yo passe à aller yo passe à passer de ouet là ka ba yo bobo moi ouet là c'est pas ba nous monde pas veut acheter pression là parce que nous pour passer de ouet là avec nous savent l'ordre qui a sorti ouet là. So moi oui merci premier ministre là. Pour y pas juste important mais pour y nécessité pour bon nous entier amico et puis quand nous ka parler là on dit travail ka aller à soutien et puis semaine prochaine nous ka faire grande cérémonie pour parce que nous commencer tia et puis moi peut-être pas temps nous ka venir ici pour appropriation pour un bout avril Mr. Speaker that nous ka presque de manière pour bailler ces gens micro à tio c'est péché micro à tio mais et puis tout ça Mr. Speaker moi voulais crier à sous parlement pour dennery sud dennery et puis ministre agricole et puis une responsabilité pour les pêches et puis les affaires pêcheurs et moi voulais dire that poilin nous still a problème et puis c'est un question Mr. Speaker that nous point combien millions dollars Jean 7 lycéens sous travail ouais payer taxe nous prenons l'argent yo Mr. Speaker pour nous faire un facilité à poilin mais que depuis l'année 2016 et puis facilité ça là pas jamais ouvert et puis juste là c'est mon gens poilin passe à servir et qui pas qu'à un service là tu te mettez là pour ça on so moi voulais crier à sous même parlement sous dennery pour ouais nous bailler attention pour faciliter ça là et puis nous ça ouvert facilité by ces gens poilin et c'est l'autre pêcheur qui a vu poilin qui pas Jean poilin. Mr. Speaker, I have faith that the minister already addressed the micro fishermen's washroom facility and earlier in his presentation he mentioned that he gave $1.2 million. He gave $1.2 million Mr. Speaker. Oh, 129,000. I was hoping it was 1.2 million, but he says 129,000. He gave $129,000 for the refurbishment of the Miku washroom facility. And this facility, Mr. Speaker, had been decommissioned for over 20 years. And the fishermen had to use the public laundry, Mr. Speaker. And you understand the contamination that is caused when fishermen come in with the fresh and they have to go to the public laundry to clean their fish, to shower themselves. So now I'm happy that the washroom facility for the fishermen has been officially completed and we're looking to hand over this facility to the fishermen alongside the jetty in the very, very, very near future. And I know that that's correct, over 20 years. And yeah. And Mr. Speaker, I now move to the Monipo Cemetery expansion. And if we look at Head 48, Department of Housing and Local Government, I'm pleased to see that the first strategic priority listed on page 427, it reads, increase the number of burial spaces through a northern cemetery and continued expansion of the Monrepo and Latuni cemeteries. I'm going to read the last part, and continued expansion of Monrepo and Latuni cemeteries, Mr. Speaker. And on page 434, line item 0422, cemetery expansion reflects there's an allocation of $5 million for cemetery expansion. And notwithstanding that we got some monies last year to start the cemetery in Monrepo, I am hopeful, Mr. Speaker, that with the $4.35 million dedicated to building, the $4.35 million dedicated to building and infrastructure, I'm hoping that a portion of this allocation will fund phase 2 of the Monrepo expansion project. Construction is already underway, Mr. Speaker. As I said, we got some monies last year. and construction is already on the way at the new cemetery. The roads have been built, the perimeter walls are going up, the land leveling has begun, and tomb construction will start very soon. And our hope is to receive funding for the washroom construction and the other planned amenities within the cemetery. Mr. Speaker, I disagree all. Les nous garder à Dida, à Bijal, à Nessala, à sous page 434. Nous avons l'année l'argent pour ouvrir cimetière. Et puis on sait pas là dat les tête page ça c'est on sait pas là dat département housing et puis gouvernement local. On sait objectif et on sait priority c'est dat you voulez hausser les mots place là et vous voulez mettre plus place pour tirer moun et puis de ça you dit dat you voulez continuer travail à sous cimetière Mopoa à sous you voulez grandir cimetière Mopoa et puis l'année 4.35 millions de dollars l'année ça là en budget pour avec l'argent ça supposé aller pour ouvrir cimetière pour faire travail de cimetière et moi savent que nous joignent tac l'année nous joignent tac l'argent l'année passée et même si nous joignent l'argent ça là Mr. Speaker moi je voulais dire que moi là espérer pour mon parlement Central Castries parler pour dire que l'argent ça là et qu'il bail mopo et qu'il bail Mikonov pour ça continuer travail là parce que nous ni pour mettre washroom là nous pour mettre vite là pour bail ces mon et puis nous voulons commencer phase 2 so moi voulais ministre là ben nous tout à l'argent ça là pour nous ça continuer travail là à sous cimetière et puis comme moi qu'a parlé nous a mettre chimie en cimetière nous qu'a mettre maçon au Lyon cimetière nous avons commencé à faire tout le temps et puis nous juste voulons laisser l'argent so nous ça continuer travail là dans le cimetière là là. I now move to the towns and village councils, Mr. Speaker, and finally under that same head 48 that deals with local government. I look at line item 0086 town and village councils, and this year's allocation has increased or has doubled from $1.5 million to $3 million. And I acknowledge, Mr. Speaker, the immense pressure that Ms. Olga and Ms. Kafalina and Fox and all the other village council workers in Mikud. I acknowledge, Mr. Speaker, the immense pressure that they have to face daily. And despite their small numbers, they strive to maintain the beauty and cleanliness of our villages. Increasing the workforce would not only ease their burden, Mr. Speaker, but also expand their reach within the constituency. And these dedicated workers deserve our support, and any opportunity to assist them should be embraced. So, Mr. Speaker, these allocations demonstrate the government's commitment to addressing the specific needs of Mikud North residents. I am confident that these investments will enhance the lives of our fisher folks, they'll improve cemetery facilities, and they'll empower our village council workers. Mr. Speaker, Mikud North is a haven of opportunity. Mikud North is a constituency brimming with potential. It's time, Mr. Speaker, it's time, metaphorically, to deliver on this potential, to nurture the various opportunities waiting to blossom: tourism, housing, education, and sports. And just like a mother, Mr. Speaker, nearing her due date, we cannot afford to wait much longer. And when I examine the budget instruments that will facilitate this birth, we find the first on page 402 under head 46, Ministry of Tourism, Investment, Creative Industries, Culture and Information. And I make specific mention to line item 0045, Community Tourism. And community tourism captures our attention because it provides us with the opportunity to harness our local treasures. And Mr. Speaker, the prowess CMOS experience is a prime example of capitalizing on our local treasures. We all recognize We all recognize, Mr. Speaker, the benefits of CMOS, a staple in many St. Lucian diets. I know it is a staple in the diet of the Prime Minister. I'm thrilled that part of the $3.34 million, Mr. Speaker, allocated to the community tourism will nurture this exciting initiative. Mr. Speaker, we could not boast more than just CMOS. Alvin's Furnace ATV renowned for providing some of the best islands and some of the island's most thrilling adventures. Additionally, those of you who have been to Point Vierge, the longest peninsula on this island, Mr. Speaker, this peninsula is located within our constituency. So the Community Tourism Initiative has already empowered several Micoud residents, and I'm confident that in this new financial year we will see even more of my constituents benefit from the Community Tourism Initiative. And while focusing on tourism, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to briefly mention, although it's not mentioned in the estimates, the ongoing development of the former Le Paradis project in Pralin. Although it isn't yet reflected, Mr. Speaker, as I said, in the budget documents, this ongoing project exemplifies the burgeoning interest in our vibrant community. Mr. Speaker, another noteworthy initiative is the street lighting project, particularly impactful in Micoud North. This project, funded under Head 56, Department of Economic Development and Youth Economy, I think subheading 041, Infrastructure Development and Maintenance. There's an allocation of over $6 million, Mr. Speaker, I think on page 581. And this has been warmly welcomed by the residents of Micoud North. Specifically, communities in New Extension, in St. Mary, and Wen Development have expressed their gratitude for the improved lighting. These areas are now safer and more enjoyable for residents to utilize after dark. Mr. Speaker, I now move to a very important component of my presentation, the Constituency Development Project. Mr. Speaker, we look at line item 70079, Constituency Development Project. I believe members are familiar with this crucial initiative. This year, we see a welcome increase, Mr. Speaker, of $1 million, bringing the total allocation to $22.7 million. While an additional $20 million would have been ideal, Mr. Speaker, we are unquestionably heartened by this commitment. The people of Micoud North in particular celebrate the continuation of this program. During the past financial year 2023-2024, I strategically utilized my CDP, Mr. Speaker. I strategically utilized my CDP to deliver tangible benefits, improve sports facilities. I used part of my CDP, Mr. Speaker, to put the installation of lights at the Passiers playing field. And now, this field has provided the Monipro football team, who are part of the semi-pro football league, Mr. Speaker. It has provided them with a much-needed training ground for evening practices. And I held a soccer there on the 21st of February, Mr. Speaker. And you should have seen the scores of people that gathered at the grounds and the scores of people that still gather there today. I also used part of my CDP, Mr. Speaker, for enhanced infrastructure. A concrete access road in Lomba opposite Minerva, and now it creates better accessibility for the persons who live within this vicinity. I also built a footpath and an access road in St. Mary, Mr. Speaker, ensuring that now Garnish, who's on a wheelchair, Mr. Speaker, he can now be easily reached by vehicles in case of an emergency. Construction of a retaining wall in Lomba near Mr. Ishmael provides for additional safety. The restoration and repairs were completed on several farm roads, and all of these things that I speak about, Mr. Speaker, I use my CDP allocation to be able to deliver on these promises to the people of Micoud North. Mr. Speaker, there were also essential repairs that were required in the constituency. There's a broken culvert on top of Mount Jab near Vianney, and as we speak, that is being addressed with my CDP funds. The entrance to Chatter House, Mr. Speaker, is finally being tackled, along with improvements to the internal road. Several drains, several entrances in the village of Miku were also repaired, and enhancing safety and accessibility. The pedestrian bridge near the Catholic Church, and I remember somebody made a meme and they said put in you first, and they put a picture of the bridge when it was broken, Mr. Speaker, and it shows the quality and the caliber of those people who don't support you, Mr. Speaker. They're quick, although things may not be your fault, but they're quick to jump and run, and everything that happened on Tulambase the parliamentary. But I'm thankful that through the CDP, Mr. Speaker, that weeks after that bridge collapsed, and the bridge did not start, the collapsing of the bridge did not start in my time, Mr. Speaker. It started way before me, but nobody's going to say anything about it. But notwithstanding the fact that it collapsed, Mr. Speaker, I was able to use my CDP allocation, and that is why I wish that maybe we would see $20 million added to the current allocation, Mr. Speaker. I was able to use it, and what it does, Mr. Speaker, I was able to use it hastily. I was able to respond to the needs of the constituency, persons who utilize that pedestrian bridge, Mr. Speaker. And right now, as we speak, the pedestrian bridge near the Catholic Church in Miku, it was rebuilt, and now we can see an increase in pedestrian safety. Yeah, Mr. Speaker, every member in this house got, and although I heard the members say list the amount that everybody gets, by his own admission, I remember the member for Chozel said that he gets $100,000 a quarter, which is about $400,000 a year. And if you, I do not know what the leader of the opposition got, but $400,000 a year by 800,000, I assume. And I know the amount of work that can be done with $800,000, Mr. Speaker. And the amount of political mileage one can make with an additional $400,000. And I know the amount of mileage you can make, Mr. Speaker, because I use part of my CDP for direct social support as well. And the program social component provided crucial assistance to residents. I provided burial assistance for 3 individuals, domestic assistance for 13 individuals, educational assistance for 5, employment assistance for 16 individuals, housing assistance for 33 individuals, income support for 12 individuals, medical assistance for 18 individuals, and sponsorships and other forms of assistance for over 123 individuals in my constituency. So, Mr. Speaker, it just speaks to, Mr. Speaker, my allocation, if I'm honest, Mr. Speaker, is well within the range of that of the member of Chozel. So, no, I get one just like every other member in the House. And I know, Mr. Speaker, as I said, the impact of the CDP program. So I want to thank the Prime Minister for ensuring that we can continue with the CDP program. Mr. Speaker, the constituency development projects impact on the lives of Miku North residents, and that is an undeniable fact. It fosters improved infrastructure, it promotes sports development, as I mentioned, is happening with the lights on the pastures playing field, and it provides us with an avenue to be able to give our constituents critical social support. All our constituents, from Chozel to Miku South to Miku North, and all other constituencies in St. Lucia. Yeah, I like Chozel, you know that. And Mr. Speaker, I now shift my focus to infrastructure, to road infrastructure within Miku North. And I look at roads and bridges, and under Head 43, Department of Infrastructure, Ports and Transport, I acknowledge the allocation of $500,000 for bridges and culverts, line item 0292. While this amount, Mr. Speaker, might seem modest, I trust that the member on my left will address some of the damaged bridges and culverts in Miku North. My immediate left. Under watercourse maintenance, Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to see an allocation designated for rivers and watercourse maintenance in Zone 4A, and that's line item 0289. And Zone 4A, Mr. Speaker, this would ensure that the essential upkeep of the Prale Ravine, the Marguerite River, the Mamiku River, the Wayon River, the Tumasi River, and the Miku Seaside bridges. Miku Seaside drains. On page 260, Mr. Speaker, line item 0506. It outlines a $10 million allocation for road improvement and maintenance project. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'm hopeful that some of the roads in North Avenue and Margaret Tooth and some other areas in Mico North, Mr. Speaker, will benefit or will be beneficiaries of that $10 million. To advocate for my constituents' needs, I submitted a prioritized list of roads to the senior minister. And I know maybe in his deliberation later in his presentation, he will tell you that in my list I submitted the Lapwet Road, the St. Mary Road, St. Mary Lombard Wing Road. And I know he knows the condition of the St. Mary Lombard Wing Road because
15 minutes. Remember, you have 15 minutes left.
Yes. He knows it because he legitimately came up there for us to do a sword turning ceremony for water improvement, the Passias water improvement project. And his comments when he got there was his boyo turn coming up the road. So I'm happy that his boyo turn, Mr. Speaker. So now you understand what what Kobok and the other people who have to go stay and all the other persons who live on that road, what they have to endure on a day-to-day basis. So I'm hopeful, Mr. Speaker, that some consideration, yes, and I know the member, I see the member for Viewfort North acknowledging and saying that's true, because I know he too knows the conditions of the St. Mary Road, Mr. Speaker. He was the Minister of Agriculture, and during his time he had reasons to go up by stay and the rest and the farms. So I'm hopeful that the member for Castries North will give some attention to the St. Mary Road. And I am convinced, and he said Lapwet, so I'm happy and I'm confident that this year we will see some works happening on the Lapwet Road. Furthermore, recognizing the importance of our agricultural sector, I also submitted a list of farm roads in need of repair. And these include roads in Piton, roads in Mao, Pelouge, and Mine, and Wayon. Mr. Speaker, I'm committed to ensuring that Mico North receives its fair share of infrastructure improvements. The allocations for the water course maintenance and the road improvement and maintenance project, these are positive steps. And I'm hopeful that my prioritized list of roads, both main and agriculture, will be considered for repair within this budget year. Now I'll move to schools, Mr. Speaker. And regarding the Passias Early Childhood Development Center, while I haven't identified an allocation for its registration and operation and maintenance expenses, I'm confident that the Minister of Education prioritizes this new facility. Mr. Speaker, construction is expected to begin at the Passias Preschool. I see Prime Minister smiling. Construction is expected to begin in the coming weeks with a targeted opening in September. This aligns well with the budget's focus on education infrastructure, because the Prime Minister made it clear that when we speak of the year of infrastructure, we're not just referring to roads. And this project augurs well for the component of the year of infrastructure that deals with educational infrastructure. And moving to page 475, line item 0251, major road repairs, rehabilitation. Major repairs, sorry. Mr. Speaker, you see I'm in such dire need of roads. I keep seeing roads on my paper everywhere, even if roads are not there. But on page 475, major repairs for rehabilitation of school plant, I see an allocation of over $14 million. And this is commendable. And I particularly appreciate the Minister of Education initiating repairs at the Mico Primary School's roof and addressing sewer issues at the Mico Secondary School. And while the conditions of the grounds at the Monaco Passias Combined School merits attention, I acknowledge the expertise of the Minister of Education in prioritizing these projects, and I'm confident that in due course he will address the needs of the Passias, the Monaco Passias Combined School. Mr. Speaker, as I get closer to wrapping up my presentation, I know that Margaret Tooth Community Center, Mr. Speaker, it's not highlighted in the budget. But if we look at page 453, head 51, line item 0404, rehabilitation of human resource centers, there is an amount of $950,000, and that speaks to repairs and rehabilitation of community centers closer to the north of the islands, Mr. Speaker. But notwithstanding that, our government is one that we don't just depend on the budget, Mr. Speaker. I'm proud to say that the OECS have agreed and are ready to start the community center. And I want to thank the people from OECS for finding the funding to start over $1 million to start the Margaret Community Center, a community, Mr. Speaker, that has been the black sheep of the community, that has been the forgotten area of the community. I'm happy that now, Mr. Speaker, we're able to bring some life and some activity and some economic activity as well, Mr. Speaker, with the construction process to Margaret Tooth. And I know the Minister of Sports is not here, but I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, that the WEN lights and the WEN facility are going to start this year, and the procurement of the lights have happened. We're just waiting on a few bits and pieces, Mr. Speaker, to move ahead with the works. Hopefully during the course of this year we will see the installation of the lights at the WEN facility, and we're also going to see closer to the end of the year.
You have 10 minutes left.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Closer to the end of this year, Mr. Speaker, we're going to see the construction of the perimeter walls of the WEN facility. In closing, Mr. Speaker, hoping you will not have to tell me how much time I have left, Mr. Speaker, I want to express my sincere appreciation to all those, especially those in the gallery, who tirelessly contributed to crafting this budget. I particularly commend the Prime Minister for his unwavering commitment to supporting the marginalized and vulnerable. And I extend my gratitude to all my cabinet colleagues for their unwavering support and their dedication to including Micoud North in all their undertakings, Mr. Speaker. And you saw the amount of projects and the amount of things I tell you happening in Micoud North. And this could only happen, Mr. Speaker, if you have the support of your cabinet colleagues. So I want to thank all of my cabinet colleagues, Mr. Speaker, for the work that they've done and for the assistance and support that they've given me in Micoud North. And to the people of Micoud North, Mr. Speaker, I want to reiterate my dedication to serving you with the utmost diligence and representing your needs effectively. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader of Government Business, member for Castries South.
Mr. Speaker, I beg that the House stands suspended until 2 p.m. for lunch.
Honorable members, the question is that the House do stand suspended until 2 p.m. I now put the question. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Sitting suspended.
All rise.
Well, this takes us to the end of the second round of the day one of the debate on the estimate of revenue and expenditure. So far, we've heard from the following MPs. The MP for Castries Southeast, Honorable Joachim Henry. The MP for Denver South, Honorable Alfred Prosper, and the MP for Micoud North, Honorable Jeremiah Norbert. Absent from today's sitting, well, so far, is the Member of Parliament for View 4 South. That would be Honorable Dr. Kenny Anthony, and Member of Parliament for Babylon, Honorable Dr. Virginia Albert Hoyot. So just before the House went into recess, we heard of several infrastructural and capital projects taking place in the constituencies represented by the MPs that we have heard so far. So you would have heard of the cemetery expansion project in the constituency of Micoud North, and also some work that has to be done on several of the fisheries facilities and also comfort stations. Lawrence?
Monsieur Julieta, avec nous finissons la même parlement pour Micoud North, ça c'est Jeremiah Norbert, avec nous finissons même parlement pour Castries East, Joachim Henry avec membre parlement pour Dedry Sud, Alfred Prosper. Bon, monsieur Nobot parler à ce effet, c'est pas fait pour monde qui fait passer par Wesley. Avec parmi eux, c'est Amel Mathurin. Amel Mathurin, c'était une madame qui était une maîtresse de l'école pour chaque l'année. Et aussi, c'était il y a un monde qui était très actif en commune. Et c'était un monde qui était très fort en qualité. Mais c'est n'importe aussi parler à ce travail, à ces stations de fer. Il dit que la caille attention, la station de fer Gros-Îlets, ça Castouille, ça Méco, ça Vieux-Fort. Avec aussi bien 2,8 millions de dollars pour acheter équipement bah, les stations de fait, avec aussi bien équipement, avec 5 ambulances, avec 5 chocs de fait. Il a aussi parlé à la station de fait à Soufouyer. Il a aussi parlé à ce 2,5 millions de dollars pour station de fait à Soufouyer. Il a aussi parlé à ce cimetière, caracole du cimetière en Mopo. Avec fait travail là en cimetière en Mopo. Il aussi parlé à Lucia, budgétaire en Méco, avec il aussi demandé membre parlement pour Denry Sud, qui est ministre pêche pour ça adresser la situation en Poilin. Et aussi parlé à plusieurs autres différents sujets en Parasley, avec il aussi bien venu budget et budget là, avec supporter budget là. Bon, quand il considère que le gouvernement fait tout pour à présent pour juste 2 heures après-midi sur les.
Yes. So at this time we wrap up and we ask you to stay tuned to the National Television Network when we resume at about 2 o'clock this afternoon.